So this is the first assignment for embedded system. Let me just read out the questions and then we can start with the new topic. So the first question in assignment number 1 is generate a square wave of a frequency 200 Hz at pin 1.0. Consider the oscillator frequency as 12 megahertz. Second question is generate a square wave with, let me just correct this, with 25% of duty cycle and frequency 300 Hz. So I already told you what is meant by duty cycle. Duty cycle is, let's say this is the on time and this is the off time. So if this total is 100, then this is 25 and this is 75. This is in all percent. Okay. So you have to create a square wave with a 25% duty cycle and a frequency 300 Hz. Again, the oscillator frequency is 12 megahertz. Then third is generate a wave shown below using 8051. So you see there are basically two parts. First wave with 3 pulses having the width of this pulse equal to 10 microseconds, and then in second part up to this point the width of this pulse is 30 microseconds, right? And again in the third part the width of pulse is 10 microsecond. So ultimately you have to use different values of TL0 and TH0 for producing different pulse width or this respective delays of 10 microsecond or 30 microsecond in the second part, and again 10 microsecond in the third part, right? So accordingly you have to manage your coding. So this is assignment number 1, is totally based on timers. Okay, fine, you can take a snapshot if you want. You can just note it down if you want. I'll also send this snap of this on our WhatsApp group. Okay, so that's about the assignment. Now let's start with the new topic, that is counters. Okay, so first of all we'll see this setup. In this setup here we have 8051, and 8051, if you remember the pin diagram, the pin 3.4 and pin 3.5 are T0 and T1, right? So the function of this pin 3.4 and 3.5 is to take the input from external sources or the external system to 8051. Okay, now let's say we have this kind of a wave. Let's say we have this kind of a wave. Okay, and we are applying this wave to any one of these two pins. Let's say we'll be applying this to T0. Okay, then we want to calculate the frequency of this wave. So how do we calculate? So basically the very intuitional way of calculating the frequency for any wave is to count the number of pulses in 1 second. एक सेकंड में कितने pulses उस wave में आते हैं वो हमें count करना है, right? So basically we'll start counting the pulses as soon as we provide it to pin number T0, that is pin 3.4. So we'll count it as 1, 2, 3 and 4. So now since we have 4 pulses, these 4 pulses we have counted in 1 second duration, right? And since there are 4 pulses in 1 second, we'll say that the frequency of a wave what we have applied is 4 Hertz, right? How to achieve this using 8051? Now as we know, we have timers and counters in 8051. What are the timers and how timers can be used, that we have seen. So this timers basically is used to generate a delays of variable time based on our need, whereas the counters, the name itself says, is used to count. But what to be counted? Count the number of instances, or in short, pulses applied to either T0 or T1. You can say at pin 3.4 or pin 3.5, right? So these two things we have to keep in mind. Now if you observe this carefully, there are certain requirements to calculate the frequency of a particular wave. The first requirement, we should have a mechanism to count the number of pulses. This is our first requirement. And what is the second requirement to calculate the frequency? We should be able to manage a delay of 1 second. Right? So these are the two requirements that we need to satisfy so that we will be able to calculate the frequency of a wave that we are going to apply at any of these two pins. Right? So how do we achieve these two requirements using our timer and counters? Right? That we are going to understand. So for that, let's consider a T-mod register as we know. So this T-mod register, as we know, is a 8-bit register with bits as M0, M1, C/T bar, then gate, again M0, M1, C/T bar, and then gate. Okay, and as we already know, these bits are saved for timer/counter 1, and these bits are saved for timer/counter 0. Okay, so this we need to keep in mind. Right, now since we know this, this is the separation between these two. Can we use the timer/counter 0 as a timer and timer/counter 1 as a counter? If we are able to do this, we can solve the issue. We can use this timer to generate a delay of 1 second, and we can use this counter to count the number of pulses, right? So both the operation can be performed using timer/counter 1 and timer/counter 0. So basically what we are proposing is to use this particular timer 1 or this timer or counter 0 as a timer, and this as counter. Right, we can use that. Right, along with that, जो असाइनमेंट आपको मैंने दिया है उसमें अगर आपको लेट्स से ये एक सेक्शन है 10 माइक्रोसेकंड वाला जनरेट करने का, and the second section of 30 microseconds. So you can use two timers, timer 0 and timer 1. Timer 0 can be used for 10 microsecond, timer 1 can be used for 30 microsecond. This is just a hint I'm giving, okay, so as to tell you that we can use both the timers simultaneously, or we can use one as a timer and another as a counter, or vice versa as well, or both as a counter as well. Okay, so either we can do in this way, or we can even switch this and we can use this as a timer and this as a counter as well. Okay, anything is possible as far as timer and counter configurations are concerned. So this can be used to generate delay of 1 second, और इस डिले में we will count the number of pulses here. Is it okay? Is it clear, everybody? Right? So since we count the number of pulses, my 8051, since I have this pin 3.4, right? Let's consider we'll applying this particular wave at this pin, and since this is T0 pin, that is pin 3.4, we'll be using timer or counter 0, that is C/T bar C/T, but 0 C/T0, that means timer or counter 0 as a counter and timer 1 as a timer, right? Why we are doing this? See, in problems it will not be explicitly given कि आपको कौन सा टाइमर यूज करना है और कौन सा काउंटर यूज करना है. दैट डिपेंड्स ऑन कि आपने जो सिग्नल को काउंट करना है, जिस सिग्नल की आपको फ्रीक्वेंसी निकालनी है, वो जो सिग्नल कौन से पिन को कनेक्ट किया है, राइट? एंड सिंस द T0 टाइमर 0 और काउंटर 0 deals with pin 3.4, and here the signal is applied to pin 3.4, we are using timer/counter 0 as a counter. अगर यही सिग्नल हम पिन 3.45 को अगर लगाते, अगर 3.5 को अगर लगाते, तो अल्टीमेटली हमें टाइमर/काउंटर 1 को एज अ काउंटर यूज करना होता, और इसे मतलब टाइमर/काउंटर 0 को हम टाइमर यूज करते. बट इन दिस प्रॉब्लम, सिंस वी हैव कनेक्टेड द सिग्नल to pin 3.4, we should use timer/counter 0 as a counter, right? That means this pin 3.4 is dedicated for timer or counter 0, and pin 3.5 is dedicated for timer 1 or counter 1, right? So based on this, we have to decide which counter to be used, either 0 or 1. Now, since we want to count the number of pulses, or in short, since we want to calculate the frequency of this particular wave, we have to satisfy two requirements. First is to count the number of pulses coming at pin 3.4, and then to generate a delay of 1 second. So basically we will be counting the pulses in 1 second. That is my frequency, right? तो उसके लिए क्या करवाएंगे हम लोग, उसके लिए कैसे करेंगे? So basically what we'll do is we'll start counting. Let's say this is my instant, and ये हो गया मेरा 1 second का डिले. So this is my 1 second delay, ठीक है? इस 1 second में we will count the number of pulses, कितने आ रहे हैं. तो बेसिकली हम अचीव कैसे करेंगे? इसको अचीव करने के लिए व्हाट वी डू इज विल स्टार्ट काउंटिंग एंड देन विल कॉल a delay of 1 second, and then we'll stop counting, right? सो बेसिकली क्या हुआ, हमने काउंटिंग यहां पे स्टार्ट किया और यहां पे स्टॉप किया, और इन बिटवीन दिस वी कॉल्ड अ डिले. तो ये हमें अचीव करना है इन द प्रोग्रामिंग. हाउ टू अचीव दैट इन प्रोग्रामिंग? सो बेसिकली टू अचीव दैट, फर्स्ट थिंग व्हाट वी नीड टू डू इज टू कैलकुलेट द वैल्यू ऑफ अ टी मॉड. And then of course we have to load th0 tl0 for both timer and counters, right? And then we have to start the counter, call a delay, stop the counter, and then whatever the values of that count we can utilize, right? So what would be the programming steps? Programming steps would be to load tmod. Second step will be to make pin 3.4 or pin 3.5 as input. Okay, this is for timer slash counter 0 and this is for timer slash counter 1, right? So keep this in mind. So once we make this pin as input, what thing we have to do? We have to load th0, or let me write thx. X represents either 0 or 1. Okay, or let me write very specific. Let me write a th0 and tl0. Listen this very carefully, guys. Load th0 and tl0 as 00h, as 00h for counting using counter 0, and similarly load th1 and tl1 as 00h for counting using counter 1, right? So this is your OR. Either will be using काउंटर 0 और काउंटर 1, तो दोनों में से एक आपको 0 0 लोड करना है th0 और tl0 में. Can anybody tell me why we are loading 0 into th0 and tl0? बेसिकली हमें काउंट का वैल्यू चाहिए. तो व्हाट विल हैपन, टाइमर्स में क्या होता था, हम लोड करते थे वैल्यूज, काउंट वैल्यू इनटू tl0 एंड th0 में, वो इंक्रीमेंट होता था. जब रोल ऑफ होगा तब tf फ्लैग सेट होके हमें पता चलता है कि हमारा रिक्वायर्ड डिले में मिल गया. काउंटर्स में क्या होता है, काउंटर्स में वंस वी स्टार्ट काउंटर, ये जो वैल्यूज है tl0 और tl0 एंड th0 की, ये इंक्रीमेंट होना शुरू हो जाती है एट एवरी पल्स, एट द इनपुट पिन. मतलब जैसे एक पल्स इनपुट पिन पे आएगी, पिन 3.4 पे आएगी, वैसे एक से इसका काउंट बढ़ेगा. दूसरी पल्स आई, इनका एक से और काउंट बढ़ा. तीसरी पल्स आई, इनका एक से और काउंट बढ़ा. चौथी पल्स आई, इनका और एक से काउंट बढ़ा. राइट, सो इन दिस वे द काउंटिंग विल बी परफॉर्म यूजिंग काउंटर्स. इसीलिए हम इसकी वैल्यू क्या रखेंगे, 0 0 रखेंगे. tl0 और th0 को 0 0 रखेंगे, सो दैट वॉट एवर द नंबर ऑफ पल्सेस दैट आर कमिंग एट पिन 3.4, same will be the increments in TL0 and TH0. Is it okay everyone? ठीक है, and that's why we'll be loading value 0 0 into TL0 and TH0. Now once we load the values, what we do is we'll start counter, right? And of course we know we need to call delay of 1 second, and of course we stop counting, and then we'll load TL0 and TH0 into accumulator for further processing. Okay, so these are my programming steps, right? Now what we do is we'll take the previous problem, so this problem, and we'll try to solve this. Okay, so let's solve this. To solve, let's calculate first as per the programming steps. Let's calculate the value of a t mod. So the value of a t mod, okay, now for this, as we know, the input is input is applied at pin 3.4, right? What does it mean? It means that yes, we have to use counter 0 and timer 1. Counter 0 is for counting and timer is for delay of 1 second, right? So based on this we have to select the value of a t mod. So basically t mod क्या रहता है? t mod क्या रहता है? This is m0 m1 c slash t bar, then gate. This is m0 m1 c slash t bar and then gate, right? अभी हमें ये चाहिए कि C0 फॉर काउंटिंग, तो ये जो C0 है दिस इज फॉर काउंटिंग, राइट? तो लेट्स फर्स्ट सिलेक्ट कि काउंटिंग कैसे करना है. नाउ टू डू द काउंटिंग, अगेन to do the counting we have 4 modes same as that of timers and the functionality is also same, right? So for counter let's choose mode 1 as it gives us the 16-bit value, so we can count up to 65535. That means we can measure this many number of pulses in 1 second. This is the maximum count that is possible by using mode 1, right? तो मोस्टली हम मोड 1 यूज करेंगे बिकॉज वी डोंट नो व्हाट वुड बी द फ्रीक्वेंसी एट इनपुट. वो कितनी भी हो सकती है, बहुत ज्यादा भी हो सकती है, बहुत कम भी हो सकती है. सो इट इज ऑलवेज बेटर टू यूज मोड 1 हियर. सो विल यूज मोड 1, right? So this becomes mode 1. Now we want to use this as counter, so c slash t bar would be 1, so that will indicate it is a counter, and we want to control it internally, so this is 0, right? Now after that the remaining portion, that is this section, this is used as a timer. Okay, what would be its value? Since we want to generate a delay of 1 second, right? We did this in the last lecture that we have generated a delay of 1 second, so obviously we will be using mode 1 here. So this is 0 1. We want this to be used as a timer, so we'll make it 0, and then we want to control it internally, so it will be again 0. So what is its value? Anybody? This is 1, this is 5, I guess. So it is 15H. Okay, so the value of a t mod is 15H. So here we are using both, that is timer and counter simultaneously, right? So we are using both the functionalities as a timer and a counter. So my t mod value is 15H, right? Let's see the next programming step. Now I have calculated this, then let's make the pin as output, that is okay. Then I have just to load the values of TL0 and TH0 as a 00, that is also okay, right? So my next step is to make TL0 is equal to 00H and TH0 is again 00H, right? Then what is the next step? Next step was to start the counter, that is fine, and then call a delay of 1 second. So we have to make a delay of 1 second. So let's generate a delay of 1 second, right? Now to generate a delay of 1 second, we know that we should be loading, this is from the previous lecture, we should be loading TL1 is equal to 00H and TH1 equal to 00H, and then we will be repeating. This is generating the maximum delay equal to 65.535 milliseconds, right? But we seen that if we use this complete delay, so for 1 second, if we calculate how many times to repeat this delay, it comes to be like 15 point something, 15.21 something, right? And as we know, we cannot operate this loop in fraction numbers, so we we decided not to load these values with 00. Instead we load this TL1 and TH1 such that we'll get a delay of 15 milliseconds, right? So once we get the delay of 15 millisecond, so by using this 50 millisecond, now if we divide it to 1 second by 50 millisecond, so ultimately we can repeat this 20 times. We can repeat this 20 times. The 50 millisecond delay we need to repeat 20 times, so as to get a delay of a 1 second, right? So basically, what was the values of TL1 and TH1 from the previous lecture? Anybody tell me what was the values of TH1 and TL1? You see, these are the values, right? TH1 was 3C and TL1 was 0BC. What was the value of TH1? Was it 3C, 3C, TH1 and 0BC, TL1? Okay, so these are the values in hex for 50 millisecond. Now the problem has solved, right? We just need to write the code. Let's go and write the code for this. Okay, so let me start writing here. From where we start, guys? We'll start with org 0000h. Okay, and then what we do? We'll jump to start. Then again org 0030h. Then start colon. What do I do? What do I do? Come on, tell me. आप बताइए, मैं लिखता हूं. I should first write the value of a tmod for, right? So how do I write? We will write as move tmod comma hash 15h. Okay, what this value represents? This represents timer slash counter. Let me write in short, that is t slash 0 as counter and t slash c1, that means as timer. Okay, now once we written the value of a tmod, let's declare the pin as a input pin. So to declare this as an input pin, remember this, I guess in one lecture back we made some mistake and we declare the pin as an output pin by sending 1 to it. Okay, basically port is, or I can say the port 1 is output if we send p as 00h. Okay, and port 1 is input if we send port as 0FFH. Okay, so if there is a mistake in previous lectures, please correct it. Okay, so let's continue. Now the second step in the programming is to make the pin 3.4 as input pin. So to make it input, we have to send 1 into that pin. So we'll send 1, that is set bit pin 3.4, right? So making this pin as input. Okay, so pin 3.4 as input. After that, what should we do? We should load 00 into TL1 and TH1. So how do we do that? We'll move TL0 comma hash 00H and then move TH0 comma hash 00H. Right? This is to, yes, hold the count value. This is to hold the count value. After that, yes, tell me, we have to start the counter. So how do we start the counter? Again the same method, that is set bit TR0. Once we set this particular bit, we will start the counter 0, right? And what do we do by starting? Then we wait for 1 second. So ultimately we will call a delay. So we'll call delay underscore 1 second, right? So we are calling delay here. We started counter delay of 1 second and then we'll stop it. How do we stop? Clear TR0. Here we stop counter. Are you getting? समझ में आ रहा है? If there is any doubt, you tell me. क्या किया हमने अभी तक? हमने टी मॉड की वैल्यू सेट की, राइट? उसके बाद जो पिन हम यूज कर रहे हैं, जहां पे हम इनपुट सिग्नल दे रहे हैं, उस पिन को हमने इनपुट डिक्लेयर किया. देन we load TL0 and TH0 as 00 because these two registers will be holding the count value. Whatever the number of pulses that are coming at pin 3.4 in 1 second, that number would be going into the TL0 and TH0, so that it will be giving us the value of a count of number of pulses. Then what we are doing is we are starting the timer. We are calling a 1 second delay and then we are stopping the timer. So these are the simple code what we can write. And once this is done, the count values will be available into TL0 and TL0. तो वो हमें बस accumulator में लेना है. So how do we take that into accumulator? Move A comma TL0 and then you can save this value somewhere into the memory. So let's save it into a 50H location. So move 50H comma accumulator. The same lines can be repeated for TH0. So move, let me write it on the next page. Move A comma TH0 and then again move 51H comma A, right? So basically TL0 or TL0 and TH0, that is the count of pulses in 1 second is available at 50H and 51H. ओके, यहां तक हो गया आपका मेन प्रोग्राम, बराबर. Now what we have to make, what thing is remaining? The remaining thing is this delay, what we are calling, right? So we have to write that delay routine. So how do you write that delay routine? Again org 00, let's write it as 0100H, right? What was the name of a delay? So delay underscore 1 second, this is the name of a delay routine. And then how do we write? Simply move R0 comma hash 20. This is decimal number, keep this in mind. count to repeat 50 millisecond delay 20 times. Okay, keep habit of writing comments, right? Once we once we wrote the program, after a few days when we revisit that code, we won't understand. So if there are comments, it will be easy to understand and easy to remember what values we have selected and why we have selected, right? So since we have now this R0 as 2020, R0 we have selected as 20. This is to repeat the 50 millisecond delay 20 times. Okay, that means we will be getting 1 second delay. So for that we need to load the values into TL1 and TH1. So move TL1 comma hash. What was the value of a TL1? TL1 was 0 BC 0 BC ha 0 BC H, and then move TH1 comma hash. I guess 3C is the value, 3CH, right? So 3CH and these values to for delay of 15 millisecond. So for 50 millisecond, we'll repeating this 20 times to get a 1 second delay. Now since we have loaded the values into TL1 and TH1, what thing we need to do is we need to start this particular timer. So set bit TR1. So by TR1 we are starting the timer of a 50 millisecond, and then we'll keep on checking whether this bit has set or not. So this is jump if no bit. Which bit we will be checking? TF1, and then we'll be jumping to again check, and this loop will continue unless this TF1 is set. Once TF1 is set, what we do is we clear this TF1 and then clear this TR1, and then we see whether this R0 has come to 0 or not. So for that what we do is we decrement and jump if not 0, which one? R0, and if it is not 0, we'll repeat this loop, and if it is 0, we'll return back to main program, and here we will end this particular find. But if it is not 0, we should jump again back here, as we want to load the values of TL1 and TH1 back into TL1 and TH1, so that we'll get a 50 millisecond delay again. So we'll write repeat here. Okay, so this loop so basically generating a delay of 1 second, and that 1 second delay we are using into our main program, right, at this point. And during this 1 second we'll be counting the number of pulses coming at pin 3.4. so basically whatever the number of pulses that has came to 3.4, right, that number of increments has occurred in TL0 and TH0. so let's say कि 5 pulses अगर उस पिन पे 3.4 पे आए हैं, तो ये TL0 एंड TH0 की वैल्यू 5 से इंक्रीमेंट हुई है, राइट. सो इनिशियली वैल्यू कितनी थी इसकी? अगर हम एग्जीक्यूशन अगर इसका देखें तो TH0 and TL0, so basically the values was 0000H, ये 16 बिट है, तो 0000H इतनी वैल्यू थी. तो 5 पल्सेस आए, तो इसका वैल्यू कितना हो गया? +1 +1 +1 +1 and +1. so ultimately the value became 0005H, right. so this value we have stored into the location. तो बेसिकली हमने क्या किया कि पहले TL0 की वैल्यू हमने लोकेशन में सेव कर दी जाए 50H पे, और इसकी वैल्यू लोकेशन सेव कर दी हमने 51H पे. तो इन दिस at this memory location will be having the value of a count. So ultimately you can verify it from the accumulator itself. but it is better to save the value at some memory because we need to access both the registers, that is TL0 and TS0. ठीक है, तो इस 50 पे और 51 ये जो मेमोरी लोकेशन है उस पे हमारा फ्रीक्वेंसी वेव का कितना है ये स्टोर रहेगा, right? So this is the program which can be used to calculate the frequency of an input signal applied to pin 3.4. Is it? Oh, what happened? Okay, uh, my tablet just died. Okay, वो switch off हो गया है. Fine. We'll continue from the desktop. Okay. So this is how we work, right? So based on this, we are able to calculate what is the frequency of input signal that are coming to pin 3.4. Okay. Uh, okay, fine. Now, do we have any doubt in this till now? Anybody? Do we have any doubt, guys? We are using counter 0, right? So this is one thing. What is the second thing that we need to look at? How many pulses we want to count? We want to count 5 pulses, right? So let's first find out the value of t mod. We will revisit this point again. ठीक है, इस second point को फिर से हम revisit करते हैं. So basically what would be the value of t mod? Anybody? t mod की value कैसे find out करेंगे? For this counter 0 क्या होता है t mod? Gate c/t bar m1 m0 then gate c/t bar m1 and m0. We are using counter 0 तो हमें इस बिट से मतलब है. These are all set to 0. This bits will be, gate will be 0. हमें counter यूज करना है तो 1. मोड कौन सा यूज करना है हमें? Now either you can use mode 2 or mode 1. So let's go with mode 1. ठीक है, तो ये कितना हो गया वैल्यू? Yes, anybody? What is this value? 05H. Okay, right? Or this is using mode 1. This is using mode 1. ठीक है, let me just add little bit of variety in this problem and let's try to do it using mode 2. How can we do this using mode 2? What would be the value of t mod in that case? This will be the value of t mod, right? What is this value? What is this value? 06, right? So this is 06H. तो हम अब क्या कर रहे हैं? We just want to add a little bit variety. Okay, there is no complex thing involved here. हमें बस 5 pulses count करना है. जो 5 pulses आ रहे हैं उसको count करना है, right? This is only thing what we have to do, right? Once we write the program, we'll come to know कि either you use mode 1 or mode 2, there is no change. Okay, and that's why we wanted to use mode 2 so as to add little bit of variety in this problem statement, right? तो ये हमारा मोटिव यहाँ है. अभी हमें क्या करना है? हमें लिखना है कोड. So we'll start with the coding, right? So first thing what we have learned in programming step is to start with org. Okay, so let me write here org. Start with 0000H, then S jump to again start, then again org 0030H. here we have start colon, right? What will be the first step? First step is to set the value for tmod. So move tmod comma hash. What is the value of tmod? This is 06h. What we are doing here by using 06h, we are using mode to of counter 0, right? Be specific here. यहाँ पे specify कर दो उसको. Specifically जो use कर रहे हैं हम उसको specify करना है, so that when we revisit this code, हमें पता चले कि हम exactly क्या कर रहे हैं. Is it visible everyone? Right now, since we have done this, right? What is the next step? Next step is to yes, make the pin as input, right? So how do we make that pin as input? How do we make that pin as input? Anybody? Input कैसे करते हैं pin को? Set bit, right? We'll send 1 to it, right? So we are counting 5 pulses at pin 3.4. So let's set bit pin 3.4, that is making pin 3.4 as input pin. Okay, now we made that pin as input. So what is the next step? Setting the value of TL0 and TH0 here, right? So what we do, move TL0 comma, and then we do move TH0 comma, maybe hash, and we'll wait a minute here and let's think again. Okay, अभी हमें क्या करना है? We want to count 5 pulses. So it is explicit that we want to count only 5 pulses, right? So how many number of pulses to be count, ये हमारे पास दिया है, प्रॉब्लम में दिया है. So what we actually want, हमारा ये जो TF फ्लैग है ये कब ओवरफ्लो होता है, कब ये सेट होता है, whenever there is a roll off, मतलब FF से जब ये इंक्रीमेंट होके वैल्यू 0 हो जाती है, राइट? जब ये 0 हो जाती है तब जाके ये फ्लैग जो है सेट होता है, राइट? एट दैट पॉइंट दिस फ्लैग विल बी सेट, राइट? सो whenever there is a overflow ये फ्लैग सेट होता है. So what value we can place so that after 5 pulses this roll off will occur? 251, that's very right. Jayvardhan, that's very right. What we will be doing is we should place 251 into TL0 and TH0. ये TL0 और TH0 में ये 251 हम प्लेस करेंगे, so that after 5 increments plus 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 it will be a roll off, और अपना जो TF0 फ्लैग है वो हो जाएगा सेट. एंड वंस दिस इज सेट विल कम टू नो कि हमने 5 पल्सेस काउंट कर लिए हैं एंड नाउ वी कैन टॉगल द एलईडी, राइट? सो दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव टू डू. सो टू लोड दिस TF, so to load this 251 into this particular program, what we can do in continuation to this program, what we can do, we can move yes, th0 comma, what is 251 in 251 in hex? Anybody? FB, right? So hash 0FB hex to count 5 pulses, right? And as we know, we are using mode 2. So in mode 2, we just send count value into TH0 and not into TL0. So sending value into TH0 is sufficient, right? As it is 8-bit counter, right? So we'll just be sending the value into TH0. And once we send value into TH0, what we do initially, let's set bit this P 3.4. Let's make this high. Let's make the pin high. And after 5 pulses, we'll make it low, right? तो ये हम हाई किए, अभी हम काउंटर को शुरू करेंगे. So how do we start the counter? We'll set bit TR0 here, right? And then there'll be wait. So we'll check jump if no bit TF0. Keep on checking here. Once this flag is set, that means 5 pulses have been counted, right? 5 pulses have been counted. And then what we just need to do is we need to clear this flag first and then stop the counter, that is TR0. And since we have made pin high here, we'll make it low here. So clear pin 3.4, right? We are making pin low. Make pin low, right? So once we clear, we have to jump back again, right? We have to jump back again and we'll continue this, right? But here we made one mistake. Our mistake कौन सी है? We have cleared TR0. जैसे हमने previous lectures में देखा था, since this is auto reload mode, once we clear this particular TR0, what it means is we have stopped the counter, right? तो अगर हम इसको रिपीट भी करते हैं, स्मॉल जंप, हम लेट्स से वी आर जंपिंग टू चेक अगेन, मतलब यहां से फिर से यहां पे जंप करते हैं, राइट? तो ये कंटिन्यू रहेगा प्रोग्राम, बिकॉज सिंस इट इज ऑटो रिलोड मोड, वट एवर द वैल्यू वी हैव सेव्ड इनटू TH0 विल बी अगेन लोडेड इनटू TL0 एंड उसका जो काउंट वैल्यू है वो कंटिन्यू रहेगा, वो जो उसका जो फंक्शनिंग है वो कंटिन्यू रहेगा. बट हमने यहाँ पे इसको तो स्टॉप कर दिया, तो ये काम नहीं करेगा, राइट? सो कीप इन माइंड अगेन, whenever we are using auto reload mode, whenever you are using auto reload mode, this clear TR0 should not be used. Okay, clear TR0 should not be used, क्योंकि ये यूज करने से we are stopping the particular timer or a counter. In both cases we are stopping it, so the auto reload function will not be of any use if we stop this particular timer or counter here. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे तो वो काउंटर टाइमर स्टॉप हो जाएगा. तो इवन दो इट बिकम्स ऑटो रिलोडेड, राइट, the timer or counter is off and we won't get the satisfactory output. So basically, whenever there is a such problem that toggle the LEDs after every 5 pulses, so you have to keep on counting the pulses, right? So that's why mode 2 is advised in such problem statements. So keep in mind this particular syntax and the क्या कहते हैं इसको, the format of a programming, also what is to be done and what not to be done while using the mode 2. Okay, so let's stop here. If we have any doubt, you please tell me. If you have no doubts, you can mark your attendance. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
Can you specify us about the project?
sure.
What type of project?
Project can be anything, can be any hardware based project. It can be a combination of IoT, it can be a combination of like 8051 or any other controller, that is okay, right? And the group would be same as that of what we have in practical batches, right? जो भी practical group है वही continue रहेगा.